Your soulmate left you a secret love letter. Read it before tomorrow. My beloved child, stop for just a heartbeat, because what you are about to discover was never meant to be found by accident. Imagine waking up tomorrow only to realize that someone had already poured every hidden feeling into a letter meant only for your eyes, but you waited one day too long to read it. Strange, isn't it? Some messages are written with ink, while others are written through moments, silence, and the invisible choices that quietly shape two lives. Stay a little longer, because this is not simply a story about love. It is about recognizing a message that has been waiting patiently, hoping you would notice it before the next chapter begins. Picture an old envelope resting where no one else would ever think to search. It carries no stamp, no return address, only the quiet certainty that it belongs to you. The moment your fingers reach toward it, something inside your heart becomes unusually calm. Why? Because deep within, you already know this letter has traveled farther than distance. It has crossed hesitation, unanswered questions, and countless moments when two paths almost met but drifted apart. And then a thought quietly appears. What if this letter has been following you long before you ever realized someone was writing it? Do not rush ahead. Every word matters. Every pause carries meaning. The greatest discoveries rarely arrive with loud announcements, they whisper. They wait. They allow only the patient to understand them. Perhaps that is why this letter remained hidden until now. Not because it was lost, but because you were becoming the person capable of understanding what it truly says. Wait until the final moment, because one sentence near the end may completely change the way you see everything that happened before today. Now imagine unfolding the first page. It doesn't begin with dramatic promises. Instead, it begins with remarkable honesty. If this letter has found you, then maybe timing has finally decided to become our friend instead of our obstacle. Those words linger longer than expected. They don't demand attention, they earn it. Suddenly memories begin rearranging themselves. Conversations that once seemed ordinary now feel significant. Missed opportunities no longer appear like failures but like preparations. Even silence begins to sound different. What once looked empty now feels full of hidden meaning. Have you ever noticed that life often explains itself only after enough time has passed? Perhaps this letter is doing exactly that. The next lines reveal something even more unexpected. There were days when I wanted to speak, but I realized that unfinished people often rush into finished conversations. I chose growth before explanation. Take a moment to absorb that. How many people believe silence always means absence? Yet sometimes silence is simply preparation. Sometimes someone chooses patience because they believe that rushed words can never carry lasting truth. That realization changes everything. Suddenly the distance between two hearts no longer feels like separation, it feels like construction. Invisible work happening where no one could see it. Stay with this journey, because the second page has not even appeared yet. As the letter continues, every sentence feels less like prediction and more like recognition. You probably wondered why certain doors closed. I wondered the same. But every closed door quietly redirected both of us toward versions of ourselves we couldn't have become otherwise. What if every unexpected delay carried hidden precision? What if every unanswered question protected an answer that wasn't ready yet? Notice how your perspective begins shifting. Instead of asking, "Why didn't everything happen sooner?" another question naturally replaces it. What was quietly being prepared while I was waiting? That single question transforms frustration into curiosity. And curiosity has always been the doorway to deeper understanding. The handwriting grows steadier, almost as though the writer finally found complete clarity. I never wanted you to chase shadows. I wanted you to discover your own light first. Because when two people meet while hiding from themselves, they rarely recognize what they were truly searching for. Those words settle gently, yet they carry incredible weight. Real connection does not begin when two people finally meet. It begins when both become honest enough to recognize each other without pretending to be someone else. Perhaps that is why this letter feels strangely familiar. It isn't introducing something entirely new. It is reminding you of something your heart quietly suspected all along. Before you move forward, ask yourself one question. If someone truly believed in the future version of you, wouldn't their greatest gift be patience instead of pressure? Let that thought remain with you. Because the envelope is not empty yet. There is still another folded page waiting beneath the first, and something written there changes the entire meaning of every sentence you've heard so far. You might think you already understand this story. But trust me. The most unforgettable line has not been read yet. A quiet feeling begins to rise. Almost as if the letter has been waiting for this exact moment. Don't hurry. The next page was never meant to be skimmed. Read it slowly in your heart, because what comes next doesn't simply continue the story, it reshapes everything you thought the first page meant. Sometimes the deepest truths arrive only after curiosity has made room for them. Stay with me a little longer, because the letter is about to reveal why tomorrow matters more than you realize. You carefully unfold the second page, expecting another explanation. Instead, you find only a single sentence written across the center. If you are reading this today, then you arrived exactly when you were supposed to. At first, it seems simple. But the more you reflect on it, the more powerful it becomes. Think about how many times you've believed you were late to opportunities, late to healing, late to love itself. Yet this sentence quietly challenges every one of those fears. What if timing has never been working against you? What if every delay has been creating the perfect conditions for something that could never have happened earlier? The letter continues. I stopped asking whether destiny would remember us. Instead, I started asking whether we would be ready when it did. That question lingers in the air. Read it again. Not whether destiny remembers us, but whether we are ready. How often do people wait for life to change without becoming someone prepared for that change? The writer isn't describing perfect people. They're describing prepared hearts. Hearts that learned patience instead of panic. Hearts that discovered purpose before seeking applause. Hearts that realized love grows strongest when it is rooted in wisdom rather than urgency. Pause for just a moment. Have you noticed how the most meaningful chapters of life rarely announce themselves? They arrive disguised as ordinary mornings, quiet evenings, unexpected conversations, and small decisions that seem insignificant until much later. Perhaps this letter is one of those moments. Perhaps you're not just listening to a story. Perhaps you're recognizing pieces of your own journey hidden between these lines. The handwriting becomes even more personal. There were moments I almost gave up believing our paths would ever make sense. Then I realized something extraordinary. Every lesson I learned without you became a gift I could one day bring to you. That changes everything. Instead of seeing time apart as empty space, the letter invites you to see it as preparation. Every challenge became wisdom. Every unanswered question became understanding. Every quiet season became an invisible chapter of growth. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the envelope feels so surprisingly light. Because its greatest message isn't made of paper. It's made of perspective. Before we continue, if this story has stirred something meaningful within you, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments. Someone else may read your words at exactly the moment they need them. And if you enjoy journeys that blend mystery, hope, and reflection, subscribing simply means we'll continue exploring them together in future stories. Now another sentence appears, almost hidden near the bottom of the page. Tomorrow is not important because something magical suddenly begins. Tomorrow matters because you'll finally notice what has been quietly unfolding all along. What a remarkable thought. Most people spend their lives waiting for dramatic signs, while overlooking the gentle transformations already happening around them. The writer suggests that awareness changes everything. The future doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with understanding. And then, one final paragraph appears, written more carefully than any before. If this letter ever reaches your hands, promise me one thing. Don't measure your life by what hasn't happened yet. Measure it by the person you've become while waiting. That version of you is the greatest message I could ever hope to receive. Read that once more. Because hidden inside those words is the true secret of the letter. It was never only about finding someone else. It was also about discovering the strength, peace, and clarity that quietly grew within you long before the next chapter arrived. The page ends there. Or so it seems. As you begin to close the letter, something slips from the envelope, a tiny folded note that wasn't attached to the others. No title. No signature. Just a few handwritten words. And those words are about to reveal the one secret the writer never intended anyone else to see. Wait. Don't fold the letter away just yet. Something unexpected is still hidden between its pages. Most people would close the envelope here, believing they had reached the end. But the most meaningful messages are often tucked into the smallest spaces, waiting for the one person patient enough to look again. Take one more breath. The tiny folded note resting in your hand may change the meaning of everything you've heard so far. With careful hands, you unfold the final note. Unlike the earlier pages, this one isn't written in perfect lines. The handwriting is softer, more personal, as if every word was written without worrying whether it sounded beautiful, only whether it sounded true. This is the only part of the letter I was afraid to write. The sentence hangs in the silence. Not because it is dramatic. Because it is honest. The note continues. I realize that love isn't proven by how loudly someone speaks. It's revealed by how gently they protect hope, even when no one is watching. Think about that for a moment. How many people measure love by grand gestures, while overlooking quiet consistency? Yet the writer points to something far deeper. Real affection isn't always found in extraordinary moments. Sometimes it's hidden inside ordinary kindness, patient understanding, and the courage to believe in tomorrow without demanding guarantees today. You may have expected a confession. Instead, you're receiving a lesson. And somehow, that feels even more valuable. The next lines seem almost like they were written directly for this very moment. If tomorrow brings us closer, I'll be grateful. If tomorrow simply helps you smile again, I'll still be grateful. Because caring for someone's future is more important than controlling it. Those words carry remarkable peace. There is no pressure. No urgency. Only quiet confidence. Perhaps that's why this final page feels different from the others. It isn't asking you to chase a destination. It is inviting you to appreciate the journey that has quietly shaped you into someone capable of recognizing genuine connection when it appears. Before you continue, ask yourself something unexpected. What if the greatest love letter isn't the one that promises forever? What if it's the one that inspires you to become your best self, regardless of what tomorrow brings? That single question changes the entire story. Suddenly, every page you've read begins fitting together like pieces of a beautiful puzzle. The hidden envelope. The patient waiting. The unfinished conversations. The unexpected delays. None of them were signs that life had forgotten you. They were reminders that meaningful chapters often take time to unfold. Near the bottom of the note, one final message appears, almost as though the writer saved the simplest truth for last. When you finally finish reading this letter, don't look for me in the past. Look for the courage that these words awakened inside you. That's where every new beginning quietly starts. You read it once. Then again. And something shifts. Not outside you. Inside you. The questions that once felt heavy begin to lose their weight. The uncertainty that seemed overwhelming starts making room for quiet confidence. You realize the letter has been guiding you toward something greater than answers, it has been guiding you toward awareness. As the envelope gently closes, one last thought remains. Maybe the secret love letter was never meant to predict your future. Maybe it was meant to remind you that hope grows strongest when it is paired with patience, purpose, and an open heart. And tomorrow? Tomorrow is no longer a deadline. It is simply another opportunity to notice the quiet miracles that have been unfolding around you all along. So carry this message with you. Walk forward with confidence. Keep your heart open. Stay curious. Because sometimes the most unforgettable love story begins not with a dramatic arrival, but with a single quiet moment when you finally believe that your best chapter is still waiting to be written. Before you place the envelope aside, notice something unusual. A faint line appears along the inside edge, almost invisible unless the light touches it from exactly the right angle. Most people would never see it. They would believe the story had ended with the final note. But the deepest messages rarely announce themselves. They wait for one last look, one last moment of attention. Stay with me, because this hidden passage reveals why the letter wanted to be read before tomorrow. You gently tilt the envelope, and a small card slips into your hand. No greeting. No signature. Only one quiet sentence. The greatest secret was never inside these pages, it was inside the person reading them. For a moment, everything becomes still. The words don't ask you to imagine anything. They simply invite you to notice what has already changed. When this journey began, you were searching for someone else's message. But somewhere along the way, the letter became a mirror. Every page reflected a different part of you, your patience, your resilience, your hope, your willingness to keep believing even when the path wasn't fully visible. The final card continues. I hoped this letter would never make you dependent on a promise. I hoped it would remind you that confidence is the most beautiful companion anyone can carry. What a remarkable thought. So many people wait for life to hand them certainty before they move forward. Yet certainty rarely comes first. Growth does. Courage does. Quiet faith in your own journey does. Perhaps that has been the hidden meaning from the very beginning. Think back to the first page. The envelope appeared at the exact moment you were ready. The second page taught that preparation matters more than perfect timing. The third reminded you that genuine care inspires growth instead of fear. And now the final message gently ties every piece together. If our paths ever cross again, let it be because we both kept becoming better versions of ourselves, not because we stood still waiting for life to happen. Read that slowly. It doesn't sound like an ending. It sounds like an invitation. An invitation to continue living with purpose, to welcome each new day with curiosity, and to trust that meaningful connections are strengthened by authenticity rather than urgency. If this story has brought a little peace, curiosity, or hope into your day, I'd love to hear which line stayed with you the longest. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy stories that leave you reflecting long after the video ends, subscribing simply means we'll continue exploring more of these meaningful journeys together. As you prepare to leave this letter behind, you notice something written in the smallest handwriting of all, tucked into the corner where almost no one would think to look. Tomorrow isn't the deadline. Tomorrow is the beginning. Read these pages again whenever you forget how far you've already come. A gentle smile appears. Not because every mystery has been solved, but because you no longer need every answer to move forward. The envelope slowly closes. The pages rest quietly. Yet the message remains alive, not on paper, but in your perspective. And perhaps that was the greatest secret love letter of all. It wasn't asking you to wait for destiny. It was encouraging you to walk toward it with confidence, gratitude, and an open heart. So as you step into tomorrow, remember this. Some letters fade. Some memories grow distant. But the truths that help you become wiser, kinder, and stronger never disappear. They stay with you, quietly guiding every chapter still waiting to be written. And maybe, one ordinary morning in the future, you'll realize that the most meaningful page of this entire letter wasn't the one you read today. It was the one your own life began writing the moment you chose to believe that your brightest chapter was still ahead. A gentle breeze seems to turn the envelope one final time, and for a brief second, you notice something that wasn't there before. Not another page. Not another hidden note. Just a single blank sheet resting beneath everything else. At first, it feels empty. But then you realize something extraordinary. It was never blank at all. It was waiting for one thing only, your willingness to see beyond the words. Across the top, a sentence slowly comes into focus. Every love story reaches a moment when the next chapter can only be written by the reader. Pause with that thought. Until now, you've been reading someone else's message. But perhaps the reason this letter found you was never to keep you looking backward. Perhaps it arrived to quietly remind you that your future has always held a pen in its hand. Think about everything this journey has revealed. The hidden envelope. The patient waiting. The silent growth. The unexpected lessons. None of these moments asked you to become someone different. They invited you to recognize the strength that had been growing inside you all along. The page continues. If you ever wonder whether your story still holds beautiful chapters, remember this: unfinished pages are not empty pages. They are full of possibilities that haven't introduced themselves yet. What an incredible way to see tomorrow. So many people fear the unknown because they imagine it as uncertainty. Yet this letter gently suggests something else. The unknown is simply possibility before it receives a name. Stay with this feeling. Because the next few words may become the most valuable message of all. Never believe that one difficult season defines the rest of your life. Seasons change. Light returns. New conversations begin. New opportunities quietly arrive when your heart is open enough to recognize them. Read those words slowly. How often have you mistaken one? A single disappointment is not your destiny. A delayed answer is not a permanent ending. An unanswered question is not proof that hope has disappeared. Sometimes the greatest gift life offers is the chance to begin again, with more wisdom than before. You look down at the final lines on the page. The handwriting is calm. Confident. Almost smiling. If this letter ever made you believe that someone somewhere wished the very best for your future, then it has already fulfilled its purpose. And suddenly, everything becomes wonderfully simple. The mystery was never about discovering a secret hidden inside an envelope. It was about discovering that hope can survive uncertainty. That patience can become strength. That quiet moments often prepare extraordinary beginnings. Before this journey comes to its final close, let me leave you with one thought. Every sunrise writes a brand new page. Every choice adds another sentence. Every act of courage becomes another paragraph in the story only you can live. So don't be afraid of tomorrow. Walk into it with gratitude. Carry kindness wherever you go. Protect your peace. Celebrate your growth. And remember that the most meaningful love letters are not always written on paper. Sometimes they are written through the life you choose to build, one faithful step at a time. As the envelope finally rests in silence, one last sentence shines brighter than all the others. Your greatest chapter was never hiding inside this letter, it has been waiting inside you. The story doesn't end here. It continues with every hopeful decision you make, every dream you refuse to abandon, and every new day you welcome with confidence. Because the most unforgettable ending is often the beginning of a life that finally believes its brightest pages are still waiting to be written. Just when you believe the story has whispered its final word, something remarkable happens. The envelope remains closed, yet your heart feels as though another message is still waiting to be heard. Not because another page has appeared, but because the journey has quietly changed the one who began reading it. Sometimes the last revelation is never written with ink. It is written through understanding. Stay with this final stretch, because what you discover now may stay with you long after this story ends. Imagine placing the letter safely beside you. The room is silent. The words have stopped. Yet somehow, the conversation continues. You begin replaying every sentence in your mind, and suddenly you notice something that escaped your attention before. None of the pages ever promised a perfect future. Instead, they offered something far more valuable, the confidence to walk into tomorrow without fear. That realization feels different. It doesn't create excitement for a single moment. It creates peace that lasts much longer. Then another thought gently rises. Perhaps this letter was never trying to predict your destiny, perhaps it was preparing your perspective. What an extraordinary difference. People often spend years searching for signs about what will happen next, while overlooking the quiet transformation already taking place within them. But this letter never asked you to become obsessed with tomorrow. It invited you to become fully present today, because today's choices quietly shape tomorrow's possibilities. Take a slow breath. Think back to the person who opened the envelope at the beginning of this journey. Were they the same person listening now? Maybe not. Maybe something subtle has shifted. Perhaps your questions have become calmer. Perhaps your hope has become stronger. Perhaps you've realized that meaningful journeys aren't measured by how quickly they unfold, but by how deeply they change the traveler. The invisible writer seems to speak one final time. If our paths never cross in the way you imagined, let this still be true, you never stopped becoming someone extraordinary. Read that again. Not because it speaks about another person. Because it speaks about you. Life has a beautiful way of rewarding quiet perseverance. Every lesson you embraced, every challenge you faced with grace, every moment you chose hope instead of discouragement became part of a story far greater than you could see while living it. And perhaps that has been the greatest secret all along. The letter wasn't asking you to wait for someone to complete your story. It was reminding you that your story has always been worthy of being lived with purpose, joy, and courage. Before this chapter closes, let me ask you one final question. When tomorrow arrives, will you greet it with the same doubts you carried yesterday? Or will you carry forward the quiet confidence this letter awakened within you? The answer belongs only to you. If this journey has touched your heart, hold on to its message whenever life feels uncertain. Return to these words whenever you need a reminder that patience has value, growth has purpose, and every new sunrise brings another opportunity to write a better chapter than the last. So as the light of a new day begins to appear, let the envelope remain exactly where it belongs, not hidden in your hands, but safely kept in your heart. Because some letters are read once. Some are remembered forever. And the very best ones continue speaking long after the final page has been turned. The envelope is now closed. The story has found its ending. But your next chapter, is only just beginning. One last thought lingers in the silence, almost like an echo refusing to fade. You may think this journey has reached its destination, but some stories continue long after the final page has been read. They continue inside the quiet decisions we make, the hope we choose to carry, and the future we begin creating without even realizing it. Stay with me for just a little longer, because there is one final realization waiting beyond the letter itself. Imagine returning to the place where you first discovered the envelope. Everything looks exactly the same. The room hasn't changed. The light hasn't changed. Even the chair where you sat remains untouched. And yet, nothing feels the same anymore. Why? Because the greatest transformations rarely happen around us. They happen within us. The letter never asked you to search for extraordinary signs. Instead, it gently trained your eyes to notice the extraordinary hidden inside ordinary moments. A quiet sunrise. A peaceful conversation. A hopeful decision. A kind word spoken at exactly the right time. These are the invisible threads that quietly weave together the most meaningful chapters of life. Then another sentence seems to appear, not on paper this time, but in your own thoughts. Never underestimate the quiet days. They are often writing the strongest parts of your story. What a beautiful reminder. So many people believe their lives only matter during dramatic moments. Yet the truth is often the opposite. Character is built in the calm. Wisdom grows in patience. Confidence is strengthened through small choices repeated over time. Perhaps that is why this letter never rushed you. It understood something important. Life isn't a race toward a single destination. It is a journey of becoming. As you reflect on every page you've read, another realization quietly unfolds. The hidden envelope represented possibility. The handwritten pages represented understanding. The final notes represented growth. But the person holding the letter represented hope. And hope has a remarkable quality. It doesn't need perfect circumstances to survive. It simply needs one reason to keep moving forward. The invisible writer offers one final reflection. Whenever you feel uncertain, remember this journey. Not because every question was answered, but because you discovered that peace can exist even while some questions remain. Those words settle gently into your heart. You no longer feel pressured to know every detail about tomorrow. You simply feel ready to welcome it. That may be the greatest gift anyone can receive. Not certainty. Readiness. Because readiness allows you to embrace opportunity when it quietly arrives. Before we close this chapter completely, take one final moment to appreciate how far you've traveled, not in distance, but in perspective. You began searching for a secret love letter. You discovered a message about patience. You uncovered lessons about growth. You found courage where uncertainty once lived. And now you stand at the edge of a brand new chapter, carrying something far more valuable than answers. You carry quiet confidence. So when tomorrow arrives, don't search for extraordinary miracles before believing in beautiful possibilities. Sometimes the miracle is simply waking up with a heart that refuses to lose hope. Sometimes the greatest beginning is choosing to smile before the entire path becomes visible. And sometimes, the most unforgettable love letter is the one that teaches you to trust your own journey. As this story gently fades into silence, remember one timeless truth. Every ending is quietly introducing a new beginning. Every sunrise is another unopened envelope. Every day is another chance to write a page that your future self will be grateful to read. So step forward with peace. Walk forward with purpose. And let every tomorrow become a beautiful continuation of the story that truly began the moment you believed your brightest chapter was still ahead. The envelope may now rest in silence. But the hope it awakened will continue writing your story, one meaningful day at a time. A new morning quietly arrives, and for the first time since you opened that mysterious envelope, you don't feel the need to search for another hidden page. Instead, you notice something even more extraordinary. The letter is no longer speaking from the paper, it is speaking through the way you now see the world. The sunlight slips through the window. The envelope rests exactly where you left it. Nothing has moved. Yet everything feels different. Because the greatest journeys never end where they begin. They end where the traveler becomes someone new. You reach for the envelope one final time, not to read it again, but simply to hold it for a moment. It feels lighter than before, almost as if it has already given you everything it was meant to give. Then, tucked inside the flap, you notice a final handwritten sentence so small that it could easily have been missed. If you are smiling now, then you finally understood the real message. You pause. A quiet smile appears without effort. Not because every mystery has been explained. Not because every dream has already arrived. But because you realize that hope doesn't need complete certainty to keep shining. The writer was never asking you to wait for life. The writer was inviting you to live it. Every page was gently leading you toward this realization. Love is not only something we hope to receive. It is also something we express through patience. Through kindness. Through courage. Through becoming the very person we once wished would appear in our own lives. And perhaps that was the secret hidden inside the envelope from the very beginning. The letter never tried to change your future. It quietly changed the way you would walk into it. Think back to the very first words you heard. You believed you were opening a secret love letter. Now you understand that the greatest secret wasn't hidden inside the pages at all. It was hidden inside your perspective. Every delay became preparation. Every unanswered question became an invitation to grow. Every quiet season became proof that beautiful things often develop where no one is looking. Before we say goodbye, carry one final thought with you. Whenever life feels uncertain, whenever tomorrow seems impossible to understand, whenever you wonder whether your story is still moving forward, remember this envelope. Remember these pages. Remember that some messages arrive exactly when the heart is finally ready to hear them. Years from now, you may not remember every sentence of this letter. But you'll remember how it made you feel. Calmer. Stronger. More hopeful. More willing to trust that every meaningful chapter arrives at the perfect moment. And perhaps one ordinary day, while watching another sunrise, you'll suddenly realize something beautiful. The future you once waited for quietly became your present. The dreams you carefully protected slowly became your reality. The person you hoped to become was being shaped every single day, even when you couldn't see it. So as this story gently comes to its final page, don't close your heart with the envelope. Leave it open. Leave room for new beginnings. Leave room for unexpected joy. Leave room for peaceful surprises that arrive without warning. Because life still has beautiful letters waiting to be written. It still has unforgettable chapters waiting to unfold. And somewhere beyond today's horizon, a brand new page is already waiting for your first step. Until then, walk forward with confidence. Choose hope over fear. Choose gratitude over doubt. Choose growth over hesitation. Because the most beautiful love story you'll ever experience is the one that inspires you to become the brightest version of yourself, one page, one sunrise, and one courageous step at a time. And that is the true secret the letter wanted you to discover before tomorrow.